Hi my lovelies, this video is for the newbies. It's for those who have always wondered about Mythic Plus but have never dipped their toe in. Well, maybe now is your time. A small caveat to start with, my intention of this video is to purely be helpful. I recently started running keys on my alts and it became obvious to me that there is a portion of the player base that might be getting into Mythic Plus for the first time but don't really know much about it. Ask anyone who knows me well. I have this habit of being excessively long-winded, which I really try my best to curb in this video, so it's clear and thorough but it doesn't bore you to tears. We are going back to the start when it comes to Mythic Plus. What is it? What is a keystone? What is a season? And how do you sign up? All in all, it's straightforward, but if no one has ever explained these sort of things to you, how are you supposed to know, right? So starting with, what is Mythic Plus or M Plus as it's also referred to? To say it clearly before adding in some context, M Plus is a timed dungeon that scales up in difficulty. It is a 5-person dungeon, typically, with a tank, healer and 3 DPS, and it is your mission to complete the dungeon in the allotted time. You need to kill all of the dungeon bosses and a certain percentage of the dungeon trash in order to fulfill the requirements of the keystone. These groups can be pre-formed, so it can be groups of friends or guildies, or be signed up to using the looking for group. The higher the keystone is, which refers to the plus number, so for example a +2 is the lowest entry level key you can do, where the mechanics and the fight will not feel as challenging as a +6 or a +10. All Mythic Plus keystones start at a +2 and can basically go up to infinity, where scaling becomes punishing. I know that in the current season that we are in, so season 1 of Midnight, teams are pushing well into the +20s as high as +24 or +26. So to take it back a step, we all know the dungeon difficulty scaling from normal, heroic to mythic of previous expansions, where the dungeons get harder and the mechanics inside the dungeon increase, or you will get additional mechanics that normal or heroic don't have, so it's a bit more of a challenge. Mythic Plus is a continuation of that scale, so it goes normal, heroic, mythic, or what is now known as Mythic 0, onto Mythic Plus. It's an additional bit of endgame content that I personally very much enjoy, and you really get to push your skill as a player, and you are rewarded with titles, mounts, better loot from the dungeon, but it also fills up your weekly vault middle slot, which will become more clear when I show some images in a moment. And unlike Mythic Plus keys, M0s, or what were known as Mythic dungeons, are not timed. You do not need to kill a certain amount of trash, you just need to kill the bosses. However, it is useful to take note of routes, where to use your cooldowns, etc., because M0s are scaled quite similarly to +2s and +3s. So what is a keystone? A keystone or a key is what is needed to start a Mythic Plus dungeon. There is a small statue type thing that you can click on that I'm showing on screen now that you will need to put the keystone in, so you basically click on it to start the dungeon and therefore the timer, because as I said, right, Mythic Plus dungeons are timed. At least one person in the group needs to hold a key for the dungeon you are wanting to do. A keystone is given to you after completing a successful Mythic 0 run, so that's why it's useful to do them. And if you've completed a certain level dungeon that week, you get the keystone in your vault. So for example, if the highest dungeon you completed last week was a +10, in your vault, along with any loot you decide to get, you will also get a +10 keystone at random. Now this keystone doesn't correspond with dungeons you've already done, it is just completely random. So a word of warning, do not put the keystone in until everyone is in the dungeon and ready. When everyone is at the dungeon, the key holder, so this may be you or this may be someone else in your team, will start a ready check. This can be done by doing /ready check, all one word, and it will ask everyone in the group if they are ready. You will get a pop-up on the screen, and once everyone has said yes, you can go over to the statue and click on it, put the key in to start the dungeon. So how do you sign up? It's very straightforward with 2 main options. The first option is you can sign up for a key using the pre-made group tab in the group finder. Then if you go to dungeons, you can see all of the keys that people have listed. There is a filter function where you can add the criteria of the sort of dungeon, group, key level you are looking for. You can see in green a new system Blizzard implemented, which is fantastic by the way, that shows you the kind of gameplay that you will find in the group. You have learning, relax, competitive or carry offered. When you sign up, you can also put a little note and just to double check that you are signing up for the applicable role for your spec. In this example, you can see that I'm a DPS. The second option is to sign up your own key. Now the system is quite clever and it automatically knows what kind of key you already have in your bags, and it starts to enter some of that information for you. You can set the playstyle and some other specifications, and if you want to edit it a little bit more, you do need to set up two-factor authentication on Battle.net, which can be worthwhile if you want to be a bit more creative with this part. What is a season? Mythic Plus and some other in-game content are all done on a seasonal rotation. In previous expansions, there were 4 seasons, but since the War Within, we have been operating under a 3-season system. God, that is difficult to say. 3-season system. There are 8 dungeons that are in a Mythic Plus pool per season. So this typically has been made up of 4 new dungeons that are in that expansion. So for season 1 of Midnight, we have Magister's Terrace, Nexus Point, Windrunner Spire, and Masara Caverns. I think that's the first time I've even properly been able to try to say that. Then there are 4 dungeons from previous expansions. So this season we have Pit of Sauron, Skyreach, Seat of the Triumphant, and What Are These Birds Doing Here, known as Algatha Academy. So I'm a big fan of how they do the Mythic Plus dungeon rotation. Listen, sometimes you get dungeons that aren't your favourite, but it's a really nice way to get some of the brand new content, and then also go back and see older dungeons that, to be honest, sometimes I haven't even run them before. Then when the season finishes, we go into season 2 and the dungeons all change again. So to not make this video too long, I'm going to make a part 2, which will go up next Sunday, which will cover what is IO score, what sort of things people are expecting you to know going into the dungeon, and also what sort of things do you need. So consumables, food, potions, all of that sort of thing. Thank you ever so much for watching my first introduction and basics on Mythic Plus. And remember, if you are a new player, just give it a go. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop a comment below and ask. My next video coming will be on Wednesday with what I did last week in WoW, and then next Sunday will be part 2 to this video. I hope you have a fantastic week ahead, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye, lovelies.